What's going on, everybody? It's that time again, the AllSooners Podcast, episode 137 on this Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. We are so close to football. Josh Callaway in Oklahoma City, John Hoover in Tulsa, Ryan Chapman in Moore. Gentlemen, I'm getting excited. We're getting really, really close. Week 0 is upon us this weekend. Football is, it's about that time.
Do we know for sure that Oklahoma's playing next Saturday, or that's not been changed, right?
As of now, it is. I think that's pretty firm. Hopefully.
Okay, just checking. If that works for everybody else, we'll be there.
Yeah, as long as that works, and I mean, you've got we've got that, and then next Saturday, Nebraska's losing to North Dakota. Like that's been signed, sealed, and delivered from our friends over at the Athletic. So,
10 days till we get started.
Wow.
10 days till we get it started. It feels good. I mean, there's games this weekend, not great ones, but there's games, and I'll watch it because it's the first time we get to see some real games. There is some interest for OU. There's a couple teams playing that they'll see, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But feels good. And next week we go to full blown season mode. Brent will have his first official first week press conference, and we'll get into that regular flow of things, and we'll start having our 2 shows a week because we'll have one after each game throughout the season. So let the grind begin. It's going to be fun, and we're excited to get this thing started for real next week. And next week's show, next Wednesday, will be our full season preview show. Obviously, we'll preview UTEP in week 1, but we'll also give our predictions for the season, our final thoughts after a full, big, long offseason of Brent. We'll solidify our final predictions for what we think is going to happen this season, obviously with Oklahoma, but then obviously elsewhere as well in college football. So that'll be next week. Keep an eye out for that on next week's show. Today's show is going to be a little different. It's something a little different we're going to do in the third segment. We're going to have our good partners, our good buddies over at Trade Pros. Caleb Jackson's going to join the show in the third segment, talk a little OU football with us in the third segment of today's show to kind of put the finishing touches on the offseason, I guess you could call it, with moving into the official regular season next week. So he'll be on the third segment. Talk a little bit OU football. Good to have Trade Pros back with us. A big help and a big sponsor of the AllSooners Podcast. So excited to get this thing going. Fall camp is winding down. Is there any last questions, I guess, is the best way to start it before we're going to get depth chart soon, I assume, early part of next week or even maybe late this week. Could be anytime, really. Any last things you're looking for here before this thing gets started? Obviously, next week we'll break down UTEP and all that good stuff, but we're right at the tail end here. It's 10 days till they play.
Yeah, I feel like the starting 11 is pretty much set on offense with the possibility of some changes on the offensive line. Maybe some receivers are going to break into the lineups, young receivers or something like that. But I think for the most part, your starting 11 is set on offense. Less so on defense. So I'll be interested to see how that shakes out, depth chart. Although, it is 2022. We're going to have about 15 oars in the water, so to speak,
Does
on
Brent
the
do
depth
that as
chart,
much
where
as
it's
Lincoln?
this player or that player.
Lincoln was big on the oar.
He's gonna do it. He's not gonna do it. Nobody does it as much as Lincoln, but he's definitely gonna do it because you got to keep those guys engaged throughout 2 days, throughout training camp, throughout preseason, and then certainly the first few weeks of the regular season.
Yeah, totally agreed on the offense. The defense it's so fascinating, and really the only thing we have left is what it looks like against UTEP, because it feels like suddenly after all the to-do about what's it going to look like, feels like we've coalesced around Woody Washington and DJ Graham being your first corners off the sideline, Billy Bowman and Key Lawrence being those guys, and like Justin Harrington coming out of nowhere. Then there's been the groundswell of, we talked about the linebacker spot last week and TD Roof and what's that going to look like. We've had basically Deshaun White at one spot on the inside, penciled in alongside the David Agwebu, Danny Stutzman battle. Guys, Deshaun White's been working a lot at Cheetah the last couple of weeks. Like that's something that has kind of filtered out. Then I think if you saw with Gabe, and then Gabe they announced it, what I mean? With that was happening. So when Deshaun White slides over, now what happens at the other linebacker spot? Does that mean that Agwebu and Stutzman ride together? Does that open up Jaron Kanik to play on the inside as opposed to a lot at Cheetah, where we thought those are questions that are going to be fascinating to track? Or is that all just something that, hey, we tried that for a week just to see what it looked like, didn't like it, and now we're back to what we thought it was going to be all offseason?
Yeah, and I think, guys, the down and distance and the opponent is situation in the game is going to dictate a lot of that. Which is it a linebacker, is it a corner, or is it a nickel safety in that position? But I would not be surprised. What you're saying is right about Stutzman and Agwebu locking down those two positions and letting a guy like Deshaun White, who's got a lot of experience and knows what to do in certain situations, he can roll out there and play a little cheetah if that's what they want him to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's going to be, I'm excited to get that depth chart. Obviously, I mean, we've been analyzing, position battles throughout this entire month, going back into the off season. So to finally get some answers, somewhat, like Hoof said, probably be a lot of ors on there, but get some knowledge of the situation. I assume they'll have backup quarterback solidified and running back too, things like that. So look forward to seeing that whenever it does happen, and we'll get close to go time.
And I went through the offense really quickly, but we're presuming a lot. But I think for the most part, they're going to have 8 guys playing on the offensive line for 5 positions. So you get the sense that Savion Byrd is making a climb at one of the tackle positions. You see practice clips where it looks like Anton Harrison is clearly the starting left tackle, but then you see clips where he's doing things as the right tackle. It just makes you wonder. So I'll be interested to see how that all shakes out.
Yeah, everything we've heard is that Tyler Guyton's an absolute animal as far as if Tyler Guyton went to the combine right now and you just didn't have any film with him, everyone would be like, who the hell's that guy? And when do we draft him? You know what I mean? One of those things. So you've got that. We know that Bill Bedenbaugh loves Robert Conjul. You saw that last year. If he kept trying to find a square peg round hole, even when Rain was healthy, then when he was hurt, Conjul stepped back in. I think a ton of the injury is going to be on the depth with the offense. What do you do behind Marvin Mims, Theo Weiss, Drake Stoops, Julio Farouk? What do you do behind Eric Gray? Gavin Sawchuk has come in and is another guy that is is this one of those few guys that might have track Olympic qualifying track speed measurables that if he's one of those guys that grows into that under the strength program, okay, well, you have to find ways to give him the football. Doesn't matter if he's a true freshman. Doesn't matter if he missed all the spring.
Yeah, I'll say too.
Right. Yeah, I agree with all that.
Yeah, I'll say.
Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to just say, to tack on the offensive line, just conversation yesterday, getting out to practice a little bit. I thought Anton Harrison looked really good, a little bit that I saw yesterday. And Andrew Ram, it's not breaking any news, but man, that guy's big. I mean, he is just a I had to double check the number. I was like, is that Andrew Ram? Is he 73? Because he looked like he was significantly bigger than I remembered him. And maybe it's just I hadn't really looked at him from certain angles at the practices, but man, so I'm excited to see how that all shakes out. And we'll get that probably was the last time we get to go to practice yesterday. That's the belief. We'll see if we get an opportunity, but that's probably it. If you didn't see that, it was kind of in the evening yesterday. So practice footage is up there on AllSooners.com and all that good stuff. We haven't actually, it's been weird. Who've alluded to at the beginning, joking about the scheduling. We haven't talked to anybody since last week's show. This has been a really weird fall camp. It's kind of been herky-jerky. We haven't talked to any players since media day. That's going to change tomorrow, Thursday. But so we don't have anything new as far as getting to hear from Brent or any players. That all changed tomorrow. So we just have some housekeeping things to kind of catch up on here today. Do want to talk about Brynden Walker. He announced his retirement from football the other day, citing some back issues. He said in his statement that they've been bothering him a lot, basically the last couple of years. He's forced him to miss a lot of time. Obviously still a younger guy. He's only been in Oklahoma a couple of years. Where he was going to fit into the fold this year, I don't know. But like I said, he was still a younger guy. It always stinks to see somebody have their career cut short from injuries. He stayed on with the team as a defensive assistant right now. He was at practice yesterday, working drills with the guys and stuff like that. So cool that he's still able to be around the program. But Brynden Walker, tough news there. He has his career cut short.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, you don't know how much he would have played this year if healthy, right? But that's something that he's a guy that I think, local kid, everybody wanted him to do well. Everybody was hoping that he would be a guy that fits into that potential, that promise that you always have when you see recruiting rankings and stuff like that. He just seemed like a guy that wanted to be at Oklahoma, loves Oklahoma, and it just like you said, Josh, man, you hate to see a guy put that much into it. You go through training camp again, go through the off season again, and you just can't get past that pain. So you hate to see it taken away from him. You want to see a kid go out on his own terms. So this is tough. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and it was going to be a really fascinating year, I thought, for him on the field, because when he came in, he was kind of in that Marcus Stripling type tweener spot of, are you a rush linebacker that's a hair bigger than what the normal rush linebacker is, or are you kind of an undersized defensive end? And that's something that had like a clear role in the Alex Grinch defense, right? That's something that they used every single year. So as far as what he was going to be this year, I was just fascinated, even if it was a depth rotational piece of where does that fit in? What do they kind of do with him? And then unfortunately, like you said, obviously we would have liked to be able to see that as opposed to just having to hang it up. So hope that everything's good. And it appears that this staff is going to have a huge pipeline and ability for even those guys to kind of still have a role and still be able to be around football if that's what they like. And that's what you saw at practice with him already out there, integrated as one of those kind of student assistants. Obviously, there's a guy in Jeremiah Cradell that we've talked about that's kind of made that transition. If you want to go a different direction, Caleb Kelly's still around the program, made the transition into the sole part of kind of the support staff. So if he wants to stick around football, there's a lot of avenues here at Oklahoma that this coaching staff has in place.
Yeah, and it feels like this kind of ties back into the TD Roof conversation a little bit, in that both these guys were going to be big on special teams, you felt like. Last year, Brynden Walker was a special teams player. Obviously, he's never started a game. He's been in Oklahoma 2 seasons, Bishop McGinnis High School in Oklahoma City. He never started, but he appeared in 17 games the last 2 years. I mean, he gets on the field, whether it's a reserve role or special teams or what have you. So it's another guy, kind of similar to what we're talking about with TD Roof, that at the very least was going to, be a body that they could use from time to time, even if it is just special teams or what have you. So now that creates another opening for somebody, to get an opportunity, maybe a younger guy. So we'll see how that shakes out. It's going to be hard to gauge, but, similar conversation there. So a tough one. Good he's get to stay around the team. That's a cool thing. But like we said, just stinks. You never want to see that. So Bryn Walker announced retirement from football after just a couple of seasons in Norman. Elsewhere with Oklahoma, as we continue to look ahead to the season, we mentioned that next week will be our full-blown season preview show where we'll map out, we'll solidify our final, we'll lock them in, what we think that this team is going to do this season. I did think it'd be fun to have a conversation just to tie into our great intern, Ross Levelis, who's been doing a schedule preview series where he's been taking each opponent, kind of giving a little preview day by day. They're all there in AllSooners. Go check that out. Definitely a help to get to learn about who he's going to be playing this season, especially those early season games where, UTEP, Kent State, what are they about? I just figured it'd be fun to kind of ask you guys just gut instinct right now, August 24th. What's the game that you're looking at in the schedule as saying, if OU wins that game, they're in great shape? Like, what's the one game that you feel like is the biggest bugaboo on the schedule for Oklahoma this season?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know about bugaboo. I think they could go 10-2 and consider it a disappointing season.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a like a launching pad on this schedule where if they get past that team, like there's not a Alabama or something like that, or an Ohio State, 2017 week, whatever that was, week 2 or 3 in Ohio State. I think Lincoln, Nebraska is going to be a tough place to play. We've seen, and I'm not sure I'm on the outside on this. I think I'm sipping the Kool-Aid. I think I'm buying the hype that Nebraska is going to be better, like significantly better, like not 3-9 again.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to be a 6-win, 7-win, possibly 8-win team. They were so close so many times last year. And I think a team grows from those experiences. So I made my prediction on the Sports Animal last week. I've got Oklahoma going 10-2 and losing at Nebraska in week 3. So If that is a game that they can navigate, that they can go up there in a hostile territory with a young team and certainly young players at young positions and transfers at certain positions, that they're counting on, new coaching staff, new head coach, new way of doing things. If they can get through that, if they can punch through all that adversity in the first 3 weeks of the season, I think Oklahoma's got a chance to have a very special season. So I'm gonna go with Nebraska. Low hanging fruit, I know, low hanging corn, but I'm going with the Huskers.
Who runs on ethanol up there and
that's right,
up there in Broken Arrow. So obviously, like Oklahoma State and Baylor are the two best teams on OU's schedule. Baylor's going to have the returners on both the offensive and defensive line. That's really going to test the question marks on Oklahoma. Offensive, defensive line, Bedlam's Bedlam. That front four defensively for OSU's bonkers. And Red River's Red River. But based off the history of that rivalry, Oklahoma should have dropped one of these last two games, and it just didn't. I'm not buying Sark. I'm not buying that team's going to be leaps and bounds better, but it's not going to stun me if OU loses that game just because, again, they're due for a loss. That's one of those actual rivalry games that's wild. So, you set those three aside. The one that I'm looking for as far as, we're going to learn a lot and it could go south is, that Kansas State game right after Nebraska, because what you've got, this offense, what do they need? They need that offensive line to take a step forward. Well, K-State's got a really, really nice pass rush led by your, preseason defensive player of the year. We know that they've got a linebacking core coming back that is going to just at least be able to sort of test a little bit of what Oklahoma does. You flip over to the other side of the ball. I don't think Adrian Martinez is worth anything as a quarterback, but him and Deuce Vaughn are going to be a very, very explosive rushing attack. And if he can just find, if Malik Knowles is left open once or twice and he finds him, that's a big player too that can help flip momentum in a team that's not going to be afraid of Norman, even under Brent Venables, because of the success that K-State had against Lincoln under Chris Kleiman. So that's one that I don't know if it's a loss, but I think that you can answer a lot of questions early on about the defensive line, the offensive line, what's the secondary going to look like, all that kind of stuff. And I think that that's one that I've got my eye on, that we could Oklahoma could win that game and we could come out with a ton of red flags. Oklahoma could go in and dominate. And we think, oh, this could be fun, or they could lose. You know what I mean? That's kind of what that game to me, coming back off, because if they lose in Nebraska, then it's okay. You've got to rally, circle the wagons. If they win at Nebraska, it's a very early, big time, hey, we did it, we went on the road. Now we need to lock in and refocus against kind of the Big 12 dark horse coming back to Norman.
Yeah, I agree completely with Ryan. That was what I was thinking too, was Kansas State, just because of all the reasons he said. Kansas State's just not going to beat themselves. That's just the way that they play. And Chris Kleiman has proven an ability to go and beat a big dog, and Kansas State, just as a program, has proven an ability to go into Norman and play well. They've done it a lot in the last 10 years or so. And all those same things right after the Nebraska game. I do think that that's going to be tricky in Lincoln. I don't think they can just waltz in there and they're going to just blow the doors off Nebraska by any stretch. I think that's going to be a tough game. I think OU wins, but I do think Nebraska will be better. Kind of like who was saying, they had a lot of close losses last year, and that'll be a tough environment. First, that's a tough spot for your first road game. I mean, it's going to be a zoo in there, in a few weeks. But I think that Oklahoma's going to win that game. But coming off that big road win, coming back, and okay, now Kansas State's coming in here, and just how gritty they are. And like I said, don't beat themselves. It's before you go to TCU and Texas the next two games after that. It's kind of just sandwiched in a little spot in the schedule where you'd like to be playing somebody a little softer, and you're not. So I think that's a tricky one. I mean, obviously Baylor is going to be big later in the year, because I think Baylor is the next best team in this conference, just as far as just skill. And we've talked about it before, huge fan of Dave Aranda, but that Kansas State game, if Oklahoma is 4-0 and they beat Nebraska in Lincoln and they turn around and beat Kansas State at home, I think you got to feel great. I think you got to be feeling like, okay, we're set to go on a run here. Whereas those are a couple of stumble spots potentially, but Kansas State definitely is a big one for me, just because fourth game for Brent as head coach against Chris Kleiman, who has just shown that he can coach him up. That's a tough one. It is. So I mean, it's not going to Manhattan. You'd rather play him in Norman like you are, but going to be tricky. So it's going to be fun to watch that. A lot of fun games.
I was going to say as well, October 29th at Iowa State, because the following week they play Baylor. Iowa State, you think? Well, Matt Campbell, he's coached them up. He's given Oklahoma some fits lately, but what's going to happen is he's going to run that rush 3, drop 8 out there, and Jeff Levy's going to have a plan for it. He's going to have an alternate plan. He's going to know what to do. That's my guess anyway.
Well, also, it's not a Lincoln Riley team coming out of a bye week, because that always seemed to be just a total disaster. Right. I have no idea how a coach that can get you to the college football playoff that many times can't operate a bye week. But I oddly enough, like, we don't know anything about what Brent's going to be as like a game day head coach, right? Because we haven't seen it yet. But like stuff like that, his experience, I just have a really tough time thinking that this team's like not going to be able to prepare out of a bye week, knowing that he's watched Bill Snyder do it and then Bob Stoops do it, who was incredible out of bye weeks, and then Dabo.
Very underrated element of the Lincoln Riley era is his performance coming out of a bye week. You're 100% right. I'd track that every time they did something. People would say, make your pick. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if they're going to win this. Oh, come on. They're playing Kansas State. How bad could it be? It's an open date. Coming out of an open date, they struggle. Yeah. And you're right, Ryan. They absolutely did every time. It's kind of freaky the way
stunk last year.
Couldn't put a game plan together. They just, I mean, what were they doing? What was the coaching staff doing under Lincoln Riley during those open dates? Were they not practicing at all? Were they practicing too much? Were they giving the guys, I don't know. I have no idea. So
I don't know. October 15th, Kansas comes to Norman. Watch out. The second year of the leap era.
You know what's going to be really puzzling? When Jeff Lebby and Ted Roof that Monday are going to be like, why did you just ask us if we practiced on this Monday? And I'd be like, well, weirder things have happened. This team has been given off Monday of Kansas week before.
How crazy is that we don't have a QB battle right now?
What a
that we're tracking.
Wreck.
We're not tracking some QB battle right now.
It's just Kansas. We don't need to practice.
I forgot about that.
Kansas almost won that game.
I forgot about that. They didn't practice that week. I totally forgot about that. And then, Kansas almost beat them. Man, what a weird season. Of all the crazy things, that was like 15th. But that is ridiculous. I forgot about that. Oh, my gosh.
And he admitted it in the media. Like, are you telling me that Lance Leopold's not like, hey, guys, they did a walkthrough on Monday. That's what they think about you.
Yep.
Unreal. What a wacky season. We'll never forget that one for sure. So looking forward to it though. And again, we'll do our full preview next weekend of kind of solidifying what's the record, where are they losing, are they winning the Big 12? All those picks and predictions will be made next week. Do want to mention to kind of tie up this, put a bow on this conversation. I mentioned earlier, week 0 is this weekend. There actually is games. Again, not great. The slate is thin, but I'm going to watch them because it's football and it feels good to have it on my TV. There is some intrigue for Oklahoma. Nebraska plays Northwestern in Dublin, Ireland at 11:30 on Saturday. And then UTEP plays, I think it's North Texas, Saturday night. So 2 of Oklahoma's opponents are on the field this weekend. Anything in particular you guys are watching for? Is there any value for Oklahoma? I guess getting to watch these teams early. I mean, especially UTEP. I mean, you get the chance to see your opponent in week 1 play a game. I mean, that's rare for obvious reasons. Anything you guys are paying attention to in week 0 for these 2 teams specifically, as far as just learning about them a little bit? I mean, I feel like if Nebraska puts on a show and dominates Northwestern, you got to be thinking, okay, maybe they are a lot better this year.
I think UTEP and Kent State are both going to be better than what a lot of people are giving them credit for this year.
Especially.
So, there's a little. Yeah, no, agreed. Kent State has a chance to be really good in the MAC. And with Oklahoma, again, these are hurdles for a new team. You're playing against a team that's got a bunch of seniors, a bunch of returning starters that had some success last year, won 9 games, I think Kent State did, and UTEP, I think, won 6. These are teams that, listen, they're not championship teams. They're not Power 5 teams. I get it. But they're going to be teams that are going to win one-on-one matches in the trenches. We saw it last year with Tulane. Remember that? Remember the Tulane game? Oklahoma gets a big lead, and then they can't hold it. They barely held it, I should say, as Tulane makes a furious comeback. That was a unique Oklahoma team, I think. I think this Oklahoma team is different, but a lot of those players are still back, and You're like I said, you're going up against a team that has got a lot of seniors and a lot of returning starters and a lot of games under their belt. Those are scary prospects. So yeah, watching Nebraska, I think Nebraska beat Northwestern 56-7 last year. That's one that I think is going to probably be a game that they're not going to show a lot. I think they're going to probably handle their business in a conference game, probably get up to a big lead third quarter and shut it down, because knowing that they've got a team like Oklahoma coming to town in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. So I don't know that there's much to be gained from either one of those teams. I'll be interested to see how Casey Thompson plays in his first year as the starter at Nebraska.
Yeah, you mentioned the Northwestern Nebraska result last year. That was one of the 3 games that Nebraska is able to actually win. To me, I look at this as kind of like the similar thing of when we prepare for OU and Kansas week, that it's like the only thing that can come out of this is bad, right? Like if you go in there and you win by 30, cool, that's what you're supposed to do. If you go in there and you're Casey Thompson, you throw 2 interceptions, it's a 5-alarm fire. You know what I mean? If Casey Thompson is having to use his legs outside of design runs, that's a 5-alarm fire. I don't think Nebraska is going to be as good as maybe you do, who I've got him like, yes, improvements, yes, 6-6-ish. Like, remember Casey Thompson was a 5-7 quarterback last year, and he's got worse skill talent around him. His thumb will be healthier, defense will be better, but you can be the transfer portal net star winner like Nebraska was minted and still have a ton of problems. So it'll be interesting to see. So for that, it's like if it's a close game, then I'm perked up. If it's anything else, I'm like, okay, Nebraska do what they should. And then they've got 2 more games basically to kind of smooth everything out. So it'll just be interesting to see how much Nebraska actually opens up the playbook with Casey Thompson, just to see striking that balance of wanting to be vanilla, but also like you've got to get him up and running by the time Oklahoma comes to town in the offense. So kind of seeing that balance for UTEP in North Texas. I'm just hoping I can find it on TV. I think it just got picked up by like Cox TV. So we'll see if I can grab one of that. Not a great game last year, but an exciting finish. Gavin Hardison, the returning UTEP quarterback, took the Miners down the field. They tied it up 17-17 with about 55 seconds left. And then North Texas hit a 58-yard bomb to set them up for a chip shot field goal to win it. So that's one that you can tell, okay, UTEP was just a middle of the road to bad, group of 5 team last year. What kind of improvements have they made in week 1 or week 0, game 1 against a North Texas team that got them at the death last year?
Also, don't forget they're playing Nebraska. And Joe Castiglione loves the Nebraska series so much that he scheduled it for the 50th anniversary of the game of the century, only to have that thing kick off at 11 a.m., which is one of the big reasons that we're all going to the SEC in a couple of years. So there's that hanging over it.
Get to go to it's at 11 a.m. again, obviously, this year. And
yes,
in Lincoln. Look forward to it. That's going to be a fun one. I look forward to getting to that one in just a few weeks. We're getting so close to actual games. It's awesome.
Hoover, you tracking down the exclusive with Urban Meyer for the big noon kickoff set that week to see, what that's all about? With
I had it set up with Bob Stoops, and now it's going to be Urban Meyer. Just me and Herb talking ball,
Herb,
and hot babes, or whatever he wants to talk about.
Kicking the kicker.
What a terrible freaking hire that is for Fox. Fox, you should be ashamed of yourself for hiring that man. What a joke.
Well, and then our friends at CBS Sports Network tried to join the arms race and hire Tom Herman as an analyst. And I was just like, what is happening? I said this on the radio show. I was like, surefire way to get the best college football broadcast ever is we all as a collective, whatever point Tom Herman's making as a commentator, we need to tweet at him the opposite, because Mr. Mensa will start to get into fight with viewers on Twitter, on air, during games. Like, that's going to happen.
Yeah, Tom Herman, I saw he's on the call. SMU North Texas in week 1. So tune in to hear old Tom breaking down the Mustangs and the Mean Green. Pretty wild.
SMU North Texas with Tom Herman on the mic. How pretentious is that going to
be? Yeah.
Get your crumpets out.
Man, football. It feels good. We got games this weekend. And going to be fun to see what those teams look like. And we'll get it started for real with the big boys next week. So that's it for that. We'll take a time out here. We'll come back. Got some other things to get through, some other headlines, a little recruiting update, some NFL news for some former Sooners. We'll talk about that. Other good stuff coming up next on the AllSooners podcast. On Twitter, you can follow AllSooners at @all_Sooners. Ryan's at Radios Ryan. Who's at John E. Hoover. I'm at Josh M. Callaway. Our website is allsooners.com. We're a Fan Nation affiliate, part of the Sports Illustrated Network. Segment 2 on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon in Oklahoma. August winding down. College football coming back. Feels good. We look ahead. Got more. You thought watch list season was over, didn't you? You guys thought watch list season was over, but it's not. The Reese's Senior Bowl put out their watch list. Got 8 guys from Oklahoma on it. I'll rattle them off real quick. Eric Gray, Jeffrey Johnson, Wanye Morris, Trey Morrison, Chris Murray, Jalen Redmond, Drake Stoops, and Bryden Willis. The 8 guys on the Senior Bowl list. All these guys are going to obviously, seemingly play a big role in Oklahoma's team this year. Is there any one guy from this group in particular that you guys, see as like, they have a shot at NFL career, but they need a big year this year? There's a few names that you could go with for that on this list.
Yeah. So the first thing that jumps out at me on this list is that 5 of the 8 are transferred into Oklahoma from other schools. So what does that tell you? It tells you that these are 5 seniors, 8 seniors in all. But these are guys who are trying to get to the league. These are guys who are trying to further their careers, and they're doing it by playing for the Oklahoma Sooners. That's I guess like an avenue, like a path to do that. Trey Morrison was probably going to get a look at the pros anyway, but he comes to Oklahoma to finish his career, and now he's confident that things are going to go his way. Wanye Morris is a guy who started 2 years at Tennessee and comes to Oklahoma and finds out, hey, whoa, it's a different deal here. I got to do more to get on the field. Jeffrey Johnson had a great career at Tulane. He wants to further his career, get to where he wants to go, which is the NFL. And the best way for him to do that, he thinks, is to come to Oklahoma. I'm fascinated by that. Guys that are really probably at the forefront of this list for me, someone like Bryden Willis, incredibly athletic and powerful and explosive, talented with the ball in his hands, knows route running, knows how to get open. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. And then a guy that needs to have a big season, Josh, to get to that next level, it's Drake Stoops. The NFL doesn't want to draft guys like Drake Stoops, but Drake Stoops keeps playing football like those other guys that they didn't want to draft, but they drafted anyway, and they became great players.
Yeah.
Just look at all the Patriots slot receivers, right, over the years, Wes Welker and Amendola and Danny Woodhead and players like that. Drake Stoops fits right in there. So I think that there's a possibility that if they get their hands on him in a football setting where the NFL scouts are running the practices, they get to actually interact. The coaching staff of the NFL team gets to interact with the players in practice.
Yeah.
Drake Stoops is a guy that really could stand out.
Yeah, Ryan Switzer is another one from North Carolina. I think he's still in the league, but he at least had a few seasons. And Braxton Berrios right now is with the Jets. Some of those guys aren't the prototypical NFL 6'4" receiver. There is a role for you. So yeah, I agree with that for Stoops.
Yeah, when you're looking at the high ceiling guys too, like Jalen Redmond's got to be that guy to take those steps forward, be healthy this year. As far as what it could be, as far as the Senior Bowl eligible guys, it feels like the trenches, right? Just by way of if Wanye Morris can put it together, he's shown that athleticism before at an SEC level as a freshman. If Chris Murray can turn it on, or Jeffrey Johnson, if they can find that consistency. Because when you look at some of the other guys, Drake Stoops and Trey Morrison will have the size knocks against them. Like you guys mentioned, they're guys that are going to have to come in and force the teams to say, we got to take a shot on them. Bryden Willis, the question will always be for that position is like, what exactly are you going to be? Because he hasn't been exclusively a tight end throughout his career at Oklahoma, kind of what the NFL is looking for, right? So he'll have to march that path. And then a guy like Eric Gray, it's the running back position. There's 1 or 2 of those guys that are actually valued. And then everybody else, it's like, if you get the right fit, you can come in and you can be someone that's an impact guy for 3 or 4 years and you get like cycled out. So it's hard to place a huge bet on the running back with how that's used in the NFL. So if you're looking for just really high-end guys that could have the Perion Winfrey type week and put on a show, I think it's kind of the bodies in the trenches for Oklahoma on both sides on that watch list.
Yeah, I mean, I sound like a broken record too, but I'm a big Brynden Willis fan. I don't see why he can't be an NFL tight end just based off he's the Terminator out there. He's huge. I mean, he continues to every time I'm at practice, he catches my eye. Like, good Lord, that's a big dude who can move. If he has the kind of season he's capable of having, why not? So I expecting big things from him, and I'll be watching that all season long, waiting for him to just take over games because I feel like that's in the cards this season, certainly for Brynden Willis. Speaking of Wanya Morris and Chris Murray, they were one of 6 offensive linemen that signed one of the best NIL deals. I mean, I'm going to let Ryan steer the ship because he wrote the story and he knows the nuts and bolts of it, but they signed an NIL deal with Hooters. I don't think I need to say any more to express why that's hilarious.
Perfect.
Wrap it out, Ryan, because Hooters signed a bunch of offensive linemen, but 6 guys from OU. I guess I'll list them off. Chris Murray and Wanya Morris, like I said. Then Tyler Guyton, Anton Harrison, McKay Matoyer, Andrew Rame. They all got themselves a nice NIL deal with Hooters.
Yeah, 6 guys of 51 total offensive linemen from 10 different teams. Hooters, basically, their head of marketing said that instead of just cherry picking like a Dylan Gabriel or one guy, they wanted to lift up an entire position group. And who better if you're throwing down wings at Hooters than the offensive linemen? So yeah, it looks like the plans are for those guys to help in kind of the social media campaign as well as an event or two at a Hooters. So imagine that'll come in the off season or a bye week or something like that. Unfortunately, I think it was the Georgia Tech offensive line that was in all the promo shots and kind of had the guy that was quoted from my guys down there in Atlanta. But sounds like it should be a ton of fun for Oklahoma. And again, they're one of the schools that had 6 dudes sign on. So it's kind of interesting. I forget who it was. One team only had like 3 guys. It felt like Missouri and Vanderbilt were like, hey, let's throw a ton of people at it. But OU with 6 guys coming in, getting taken care of by Hooters. I mean, well, how can it be much better than that? You got General Booty doing the Children's Hospital stuff on one side, then you got the O-line in front of him going to Hooters.
Guys, there is no way Hooters is making money on bringing 51 offensive linemen to their restaurants. No way.
Just from the
food be able to sell
that
many
intake
wings
alone.
to make up for the amount of wings that are going to be eaten by that offensive line group. Are you kidding me? I do a show every day with Sam Mays, and Sam looked at that deal and he goes, "Why was I not born in the previous in this generation, where I could go to Hooters literally 6-7 days a week and just eat wings all day and all night?" So they're getting paid, I guess, to promote, but they're also got to get free wings out of this, right?
Sure.
Got to get free wings.
How many wings? I mean, it's a tough question. I was going to say, how many wings could these guys put down in one go? It's got to be, what, 30, 40 plus? More?
Well,
even if they're if they're not trying to like set records and they like splurge on sides and stuff, like for that table, it's at least 100 wings, like bare minimum. And that's if they're appetizers, sides, all the rest of the stuff, much less if they're just honed in on, I want to throw down some numbers with wings.
That's awesome.
There's guys too that, Schmitty is trying to get their weight down so they can play maybe more of a flex position. Maybe they're thinking about some tight end. Bro, this is one of those moments in time where it's like, gee, do I want to go down and play tight end, block and be that third tight end? Or do I want a Hooters deal and go get me some wings every day and be an offensive lineman? This is one of those moments in life where it's just like, nope, coach, I appreciate you, but I'm going to go play O-line.
100%. 100%. Man, what an unbelievable deal. So that was pretty fun. Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool to see the offensive line get NIL deals anyway, but when it's perfect like that.
Yeah. Like, if here's the plate, the stack of bones is going to be up to right here. Like, maybe even more. Visually, you guys aren't getting it on the podcast, but on YouTube, you can see a pile of chicken bones this big.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now I needed these guys to tweet out their sauce or dry rub of choice. Like, that was the next step, right? Like, come on, guys. You need to – my name's Andrew Rame, and I like lemon pepper. Like what's the next thing?
100%. 100%. That's gonna whenever we
talk
talk
going to B-dubs tonight.
I love me some B-dubs. Garlic parm for me. I'm also boneless. I'm not a bone-in snob. I like the boneless. It's just easier to eat with the fork. It's the way it is.
Look, it's simply a matter of how much ranch do I want to ingest that day. Because if it's a lot of ranch,
way easier with the boneless.
The boneless wings just become a vehicle for the ranch. It's just a loop, and then I'm just eating a ranch popsicle that has some chicken.
Boy, we might be doing beat-ups in the Callaway house tonight. This conversation's getting tough. I haven't eaten lunch yet today either. I'm getting hungry. All right.
Everybody that's listening to this podcast right now is going, I'm getting some wings tonight.
In the drive-thru as we speak.
We just sold like 3 million wings.
You're welcome, every wing place in Oklahoma. You are welcome. Shipping over to some recruiting news. No commit since the last show, but we have a couple of guys of interest that are going to be committing very, very soon. Makari Vickers, a big one. We talked about him before. He's committing, I believe it's Friday at halftime of his high school football game. We talked about that before. Number 8 safety in his class by 247. Number 6 in the composite from Tallahassee, Florida. Looks to be an OU commit. That's the way that's trending. Can't really say the same for Anthony Evans, 3-star receiver, who's going to be committing here in the very near future from Converse, Texas. He looked to be an OU guy for a while. Now it's a little more split, a little more of a lean toward Georgia, it looks like. We'll see how that shakes out. But a couple of big guys of interest there. Obviously, if Oklahoma can land Vickers, continue to climb, which we talked about it a lot over the course of the offseason, trying to get into the top 5, which Lincoln Riley would never manage to do. And if they get Vickers, I don't know what the math will look like, but they got to be real close, you would think. And certainly so you can get some of these other guys that are looking at as well. So big recruiting weekend coming up here for Oklahoma.
Vickers sounds like a lock, doesn't he? That's we're all getting the vibe that he's more than likely, definitely, almost gonna pick Oklahoma. Okay, so we move on from him. Evans is a guy that would be an unexpected. I'm sure the coaching staff probably has a different perspective, but for most of the people that follow, it would be like an unexpected gift, like a bonus. Like they look at the recruiting rankings one day and there he is, and it's like, what we got him. So I don't know. He's got some decisions to make, obviously, but Oklahoma just being in the mix for a lot of those guys. We've said this before, especially when you talk about guys that play the position of defensive line, defensive end, things like that. When you start throwing those guys out that are considering Oklahoma, and Evans is clearly a different position, but Evans is a guy that when you say, well, he was strongly considering Oklahoma, that helps you win some of those recruiting battles later on down the road.
Well, when you just look at who these guys are up against, right? For Vickers, his top 3 is OU, Alabama. I think Michigan is in there. Michigan's a token third. It's OU and Alabama, heads up. Evans is OU and Georgia, heads up. Those names ring a bell to anyone. That's about to be who Oklahoma has to beat in, year out. And so even if you go 1 of 2 in that, being heads up with Alabama and winning with Vickers, seatbelt Vickers, by the way, an incredible just high school nickname that I want to dig into more for a guy that's in the secondary. Then that's exactly what you need to be. You're going to see it more with as we get closer to the Jordan Renaud decision into next month. That's another OU Alabama. If Oklahoma can stave off everybody and keep that momentum going with a guy like Hicks that they built at the party at the Palace, that's Oklahoma and SEC heavyweights in recruiting as well. Great news for the Sooners. Even if you don't hit the royal flush and grab all of those guys, OU's going to win more of those battles, it feels like right now, than loses. And that's a major statement before Brent Venables has even coached a game at Oklahoma.
Absolutely. So AllSooners.com, place to be to keep up with that. When the guys announce their decisions, you'll find out about it there, along with highlight tapes of Makari Vickers and these other guys Oklahoma's trying to pick up. Big time stuff for OU potentially coming down the pike. Going to from future Sooners to former Sooners in the NFL. Got some good news for a couple of guys here. Baker Mayfield is QB1 in Carolina. That was expected, but it was officially announced earlier this week. And that sets up, let's go. Browns-Panthers week 1 in Carolina. I wish it was in Cleveland, but it's in Carolina. And Baker Mayfield will be under center. He beats out Sam Darnold, so you got to win over USC there. I'm sure you fans will like that. He's the starting quarterback of the Panthers now. So he went to a new spot. He won the job, seemingly pretty convincingly. I don't think it was really ever close. And Baker's got himself a new opportunity there. I still don't know how good the Panthers are going to be through no fault of Baker. I just don't know. I just look at that team, and I just don't really know. But if anybody is capable of just willing a team to some wins that they shouldn't get, it's probably Baker. So we'll see how it shakes out. I do think they have a great chance to win week 1 because Deshaun Watson's suspended. So Panthers got to like their chances week 1 at home against the Browns. But good stuff there for Baker.
Yeah, 1-31, remember, Cleveland was before
point.
Baker got there. Look what they've done with him there as the quarterback. So I was listening to an analyst today coming out of Charlotte, and he said Sam Darnold's best year was not as good as Baker Mayfield's worst year in Cleveland last year, which was a busted shoulder. You know, he wrecked it twice. So there's no suspense, no drama, no surprise whatsoever that they went out and got Baker Mayfield, at least half of his contract, right? They went out and got Baker, brought him in, and said, "This is we're gonna let him compete with Sam Darnold." Come on, but it was never a real competition. He was in the lead from the very beginning, and the fact that he's out there bringing Matt Corral, you know, the rookie quarterback, he's talking to him, he's giving him advice. You see the Twitter thing where he's giving him advice and he's telling him who to look for and watch out for this guy and set your feet this way, and when you throw this way, you're looking at. He's giving him advice that he's trying to win a job. This was during the competition, and yet he's out there tutoring a rookie. Just goes to show what kind of teammate he is. And now you're seeing all the Browns teammates that are going through media availability in Cleveland. You're seeing all those guys come out and say, "Yeah, I love Baker. Baker was a great teammate. Baker was my guy. Hey, Myles Garrett, bet you can't wait to sack him. Bet you're more excited than ever that Baker's playing for him." He's like, "No, Baker's just the other team's quarterback. I got nothing against Baker." So I think you're seeing a lot of those guys come out and support him, whereas the criticism was from really 1 or 2 or 3 people when Baker was in Cleveland, and it just those things got rolling and this narrative got steamrolling, and pretty soon the chasm was unfixable, right? You couldn't bridge that gap. So they put him on the trade block and got what they could for him, and now he's going to beat their ass in game 1.
Yeah, the noise coming from one player's dad more than anything, and then the attempted character assassination behind the scenes, which is why, again, the reason that the Browns had to pay Deshaun Watson that money and had to structure it that way is because they basically set Baker Mayfield's value on fire before executing the trade. Deshaun Watson then said no thanks, and they're like, no, seriously, we'll pay you everything you want, and we'll structure it in a way that the NFL can't take your money, which is just the disgusting decisions the Haslams have made. So good for Baker. Good to get him rolling. We talked to a guy from Carolina on Monday, kind of after the news was announced with Chisholm Holland on the franchise. And the Carolina is like, yeah, the offensive line is not going to be a top 10 offensive line, but they have went out and invested, so it's not a bottom 5 unit. The skill positions aren't top 10 unless McCaffrey's healthy, but they're not the absolute worst thing in the world. And with that defense, like, Baker just needs to be okay, and they'll win a couple of games, especially because they play in a soft division. Their schedule's matched up with the NFC East, so like there's not just a murderer's row going through there as far as 4 other games on their schedule, stuff like that. They'll lose to Dallas, probably lose to Philly, and have a great chance against New York and a great chance against Washington. So that's 6 wins there between a couple in the division, a couple of those in the NFC East. Then you just got to get 1 or 2 others, and all of a sudden you're at 7, 8, 9-win football team.
Yeah, floating around the wild card situation there. Quite possible. Division's not very good. I'm a Falcons fan. I'll tell you firsthand. Division's not very good. Saints aren't very good. Falcons stink. And the Bucs are the Bucs, but they've had a lot of tough injuries on their offensive line, and I don't know. They may be beatable more so than they've been. So, yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, if we look up in December and the Panthers are in the hunt, it wouldn't surprise me. I will say, too, mentioned the former teammates thing, and Ryan alluded to Odell Beckham's dad. Even Odell Beckham, you guys saw a few weeks ago probably, I think the NFL posted a thing of Baker first time wearing the Panthers uniform, Baker making his Panthers debut, and Odell Beckham commenting, go shine, pumping him up. And it's like, that doesn't really fit the narrative now, does it? Odell and, rooting on, giving some words of encouragement to Baker there. So it seems to be nothing but positive coming from the Browns players to Baker and Carolina. So that'll be interesting to see that game. That needs to be national TV. At the very least, the state of Oklahoma should get it on the local. Make it happen. I don't know what the schedule totally looks like that weekend, but it needs to. I know the Cowboys play Sunday night, so clear the schedules, get Browns Panthers at least on TV in Oklahoma, because I think every OU fan is going to want to watch that game. That's for sure. Elsewhere for OU. Yeah, go ahead.
Tell you what. I want to get in a card game with the Cleveland Browns, don't you? I mean,
yes.
This is the worst damn hand of cards I've ever gotten. Who wants to bet with me? This quarterback we have is a child. Who wants to trade for him? Idiots.
Yeah, the Browns stay Browns, and we'll see. Hey, the NFL's very rigid on their broadcast schedule. That stuff gets hammered away in boardrooms, but the state of Oklahoma has bullied the NFL once into making the Browns be the unofficial. Like, seriously, like, the Oklahoma, like, city is a Dallas A market, a Kansas City B market, and they basically bullied the NFL into making the Browns be every other game that's not Kansas City or Dallas. So I wonder if the NFL is smart enough to be like, wait, let's just swap that to Carolina real quick so that we don't get bombarded with the phone calls and the emails.
Whenever I was a kid, I remember the Minnesota Vikings being on all the time for Adrian Peterson. Constantly local Vikings games on all the time just for Peterson. So wouldn't surprise me at all to see the Panthers find themselves on local TV. You've seen that with the Cardinals a little bit too. Kyler finding his way onto local TV in Oklahoma more and more. They've kind of wised up to that, which is smart, especially in these states that don't have an NFL team. That's what they want to see. They want to see their former guys. Elsewhere for OU, I mentioned the Cardinals right there. They probably should be on all the time because they've got just a slew of OU guys. They traded for Cody Ford over the weekend. So the 2018 OU offense is in full effect in Arizona. They have Kyler running the show. You have Marquise Brown at receiver, Cody Ford on the line. And they also have Marquise Hayes is there too. Now, he was on the 2018 team. Obviously was very young at the time, didn't play a whole lot yet. But that's four guys who played together at Oklahoma who are now together in the desert. So I think OU fans – are the Cardinals the unofficial OU fan team now? I mean, they just have four dudes. I think that might be the most in the league as far as Sooners on one team.
Yep. So here's what we know about Kyler and his relationship with the Arizona Cardinals. He wants somebody, they go get him. He wanted Marquise Hollywood Brown, and it took him an extra year, I think, but when he first dropped the bug in their ear about, hey, we should really go after this guy. It took him a year, but he finally, on draft day 2022, they finally got him. And he wanted to come play with Kyler. He wanted to come play in the desert. So good for him. And when Cody Ford was drafted, Kyler Murray was like, that's the guy we want. That guy right there. Can y'all draft him? What do you mean Buffalo got him? Kyler, sorry, Kyler, we were going to draft him next round. No, Buffalo got him. Well, hey, can we trade for him? That's what Kyler is he's helping the personnel department and Cliff Kingsbury out there in the desert reassemble one of the best offenses in college football history.
I was just looking right there. Is Lee Morris available? I don't know. Is Lee tied down anywhere?
TD Lee.
Charleston Rambo. I think he's not going. He's going to be a practice squad stash in Carolina. It sounds like he was super young. Really only played in that Orange Bowl against Alabama, but I think he's out there and about. Grabbing CD is going to be a bridge too far, maybe, but the Eagles just spent a late-round pick on Calcaterra. Go grab him, yeah? Like, why stop now? Why stop now? Just get all the Infinity Stones.
Bobby Evans. Just load up. Just load up.
Bobby Evans doesn't play out in L.A. Go ahead and ship him to Arizona, absolutely.
Well, and on top of that, Kyler can just call the plays, it turns out, from this preseason experience. So, like, you can cut the Cliff Kingsbury factor just totally out of it. Let him coach, Saturday to Saturday, and then roll out
general manager, coach, quarterback. And if he keeps making the money he's making, which he just got a huge extension, he's going to be the owner. He's going to be the owner, the general manager, the coach, and the quarterback. Kyler Murray. Baseball and football was not enough. He wants to run the whole organization.
I was going to say, and center fielder and cleanup hitter as well. Yeah, calling the plays for the Ravens Cardinals preseason game, and he's also just the GM, acting as GM. So, they gave him that contract, and he's just running the show out there now at this point. And Cliff Kingsbury, the strategy is just Oklahoma offense basically is pretty much what they're going for, and going to be fun to watch. Final segment of the AllSooners Podcast. Back with you here, wrapping up episode 137. Send you on your weekend into the first game week of the season, finally. So Ryan's hopped out. We got the bros from Trade Pros in on the show with us here to wrap things up. Kerry Vaughn and Caleb Jackson. Guys, appreciate you being on with us for the third segment. Good to finally have you guys. I mean, you guys are the main sponsor of the AllSooners Podcast, so good to have you guys on, talk some OU football.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Been looking forward to it for a long time. And like I said, we've been following John for years and happy to do it. So appreciate you guys.
Well, there's been nothing to talk about OU football, right? Not a thing going on since last November. So we can just move on and talk about basketball or something. Get the Groves Bros on here with the Trade Pros bros. No, let's talk about football, man. Golly. Think about it. How long ago was it? 9 months? 9 months ago this week that Lincoln Riley pulled up shop and went out to the West Coast. Shocking turn of events. Let's just start there. What was you guys' reaction when that happened?
Soft.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things, too, because I remember after watching that game and the press conference was crazy, right? He seemed I thought he was sincere, but it almost seemed a little fake, like I think he knew, right? So it's just, to me, it was, and I think it has a lot to do with NIL stuff, with him maybe going out and be able to find some more money to pay some of these players, right? And so we'll see as it unfolds, but, initial reaction was, you got to be kidding me. It's like a Kevin Durant thing. I remember when I was exactly watching on the 4th of July when he left. And so it was like, Bob Stoops found someone that could fill in his shoes and found a way where he could retire happily, knowing that, he wasn't going to leave the program in a bad spot. And to me, we kind of pulled the rug out from under us a little bit. And then, we were in a pickle with recruiting, but I think Brent's done a good job ultimately pulling that back together for us. So disappointed, to say the least, that he left. He was a great coach, but,
right.
On to better and bigger things for us. So.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the same. I think the business decision for him to leave for himself was smart, and to potentially grow a little bit better team in terms of marketing out there for his players in LA. There's probably no other place better to do it than there, just to get guys to come and play for him. So, because honestly, it's probably what it's going to boil down to anyways, who got the most money. But I am so jacked about the Venables hire. I'm a defensive minded guy. I thought Lincoln was super soft for, the last few years, and it kind of changed our mentality as a team. Like, as a fan, you just kind of see it the last few years, it's kind of just gone. Like, we're better than everybody. Yeah. We don't work hard enough to show it, or, but I just like the mindset that Brent brings for OU this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask this next, was just the thoughts on bringing Brent in, and then just, I guess, the whole staff that they've kind of put together there. Obviously, the defensive staff is really impressive, and brought Schmitty back, Jerry Schmidt, the strength and conditioning coach, and just kind of how you guys see the direction here with the new coaches and the new regime.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know who Schmitty was. Sad to say, before he came back, and I started, researching him and learning the toughness and the mentality that he brought to the team, as far as like break that barrier of mental toughness, especially in football, right? And so, I thought that was a key hire for him. Levy coming in, running the offense. I heard a quote. I think Marvin Mims said that we were going to run the most plays offensively in the country. And so I'm looking forward to see kind of what that looks like, Another thing, too, from the defensive standpoint is, just the amount of times that they rotated in your first and second string players last year. It's like, how do you not keep your players on the field? Like, especially third down key situations where I feel like, they're so focused on having the energy there rather than the technique and the talent, probably didn't help us. But, we'll see that unfolds out there at USC. But from us, we know here Brent's going to demand a lot from them. They're going to, have the best players on the field, and they'll probably be laying down on the field hurt before they come off for some rest. So
I'm ready to run the ball. I'm ready to just run the power left and power right and just dominate the game and then stop everybody on defense. I'm old school. Like, bring it on. Let's win 10-2 and 7-3, and I'm good. But I'm ready for them to run the football a lot. And I think that Levy's offense is pretty balanced, but I feel like he wants to run more than he passes. Probably any offensive coordinator would want to. But anyway, I think it's going to be more explosive than what Lincoln was doing, because I feel like Lincoln just kind of got stagnant, or everybody was starting to figure him out. One of the two. Nothing was ever creative anymore. It was kind of boring. And so he had all this talent, but I don't think that the drive and to get these guys where he needed them to be was there. So, well, I'm excited, man.
We briefly mentioned that in the second segment about rush 3, drop 8, and Lincoln didn't know what to do. My guess is Jeff Lebby's going to have a backup plan for when there's 8 DBs out there on the field. Also, in terms of running the football, nothing against Dylan Gabriel. I think he's going to have a great year, but this might be a perfect season to have a guy like Jalen Hurts taking snaps and running with football. You need a 1,200-yard runner at quarterback, right?
Oh, I know.
That would be nice.
That'd be so awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Jeff Lebby likes to, he loves Dylan Gabriel's arm. He talked about that a few weeks ago. Who remembers? He's going to throw it all over the place. I think, just volume of plays, and I think you're going to see a bigger emphasis on getting the ball to the playmakers, which has been a big thing that fans have been kind of frustrated with. Marvin Mims only having 30-something catches. It's going to be a lot more. He's got a bigger emphasis on, these are our best players. We're going to get him the ball.
It seemed like every time Marvin Mims touched the ball last year, it'd be like once a game, but he'd go for like 70 or a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then, you don't go back to it the whole time. Man, in real life, it's just I'm not watching it on TV, but when you're at the game and you can see all the, everybody, I don't know what we're doing or what we were doing, but I think we're in a better spot than we were 3 years ago after Baker left.
Maybe, to add to that, having Theo Weiss back this year is going to be big. I think, Jaden Hazelwood was the go-to probably last year, but I think Weiss probably complements Mims a little better, with his ability to catch the ball in tight spots. We saw that 2 years ago. He was Spencer Rattler's go-to guy his first year. So having him back is going to be great. And what about Jayden Gibson? He tore it up in the spring game, right?
Yep.
Having a big old 5'6" guy out there,
He's big.
Which we'll probably end up seeing more of that. That's kind of Levy's guys, are those big guys, right, for that offense that he runs. I'm Jack, let's go.
Yep.
So,
well, Kerry and Caleb from Trade Pros, what do you guys think about the culture that Brent has kind of instilled? They went out and he told the story of being at his lake house in Clemson while Joe and Joe, the president and the athletic director, were on the tarmac inside the airplane back at Clemson at the airport. And he was negotiating with them. I want this many resources. I want this many coaches. I want this many assistants and this many staff members and this many support. And I want something called the Soul Mission, the Soul Foundation, for they're going to rebuild the kind of the culture, the player first culture. What do you guys think about the way Brent has kind of taken the reins of that thing and reinstituted the direction of the program?
So I think that the way that Brent kind of said it best is he doesn't want to feel like every time he goes someplace or do somewhere, he doesn't want to make it transactional. He wants to make it about relationships. And I think that as business owners, the best thing we can have is a bunch of good relationships with people. And I think that those people stay in your life longer than just trying to get by and have something that's just a transaction to get you to the next step or get you to the next ring. But the culture and the Soul Mission thing, man, I think it's so cool just how they're kind of bringing in new just different ideas of coming together and being one as a unit and just bringing kind of the whole better community vibe for OU fans, I guess, in terms of we're going to be more competitive probably than we were. They're going to be together. It's going to be more fun to watch, and hopefully we can get like more of those like big hit highlight videos that they used to make in like the early 2000s. Right now, like if you look it up, there ain't none in the last 5 years except for maybe one or two. Perry-on killing Iowa State guy, but that's about it.
They come in flags too. But yeah, just the the excitement, the energy that he brings, and that gets talked about a lot throughout the media. But we haven't seen the fire in the guys that I feel like in the last few years, as far as being excited on the sideline. Maybe Texas last year, was pretty good. But anyway, just the excitement, the energy, the togetherness that I think that he brings to the team, for everyone to work commonly as a goal. And you see it like in the spring game, right? When Lincoln was here, it was offense versus defense, where, maybe that's good, but here it's, it's all about the team rather than separating the team half and half per se. You know what I mean? It's like he makes everybody come together for a common goal, right? And it just seemed like we keep referring to last year in the Lincoln era, but it seemed very that time
individualistic.
Yeah, singular, I would say. But man, his energy, foaming out the mouth that like he does. I listen to every single media event that he has, and he just goes down the rabbit hole like crazy, and I think it's great. But
big time.
You can only get about 5 questions in a post game for an hour, and but he's definitely, I think he's coming for the right reasons, right, and to build it back up and then go compete at a high level in the SEC. And mentally and physically bringing the attitude that we need to win another national championship, which is what we all want, right?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment as far as the team unity being a lot better. I think Marvin Mims, Hoover, right, has said that a few times, that this year's team seems to have a lot better chemistry, and it's not as divided by position or offense. It's kind of just everybody's all together. So I think that's a fair assessment for sure. What are some expectations, for this year's team for you guys? I mean, what would constitute a good season? I mean, obviously expectations at Oklahoma they never really go down. New coach or new quarterback or what, but is 10, 11 wins, win the Big 12? What are some thoughts on what they're going to do this year?
I think I try to be as realistic as possible. I could see us losing maybe 3 games, maybe, just depending, but I could be 100% wrong, just being real, just because we don't even know what it's going to look like, honestly, because everything's so new, and we just, you don't know what the offense is really going to look like. You don't know if the defense is going to be as aggressive as, the marketing of the media, makes it out to be, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would say we still would expect to win the Big 12, right? Pull it out one way or another. Like, look at last year. Like, we were right there. We, had the talent, but it didn't glue together like it probably should have. And so, and I look at, I don't think Oklahoma State their defense is going to be as good. I still think they got some talent over there. You never know about Texas. That game can go, coin flip. But, I think the guys are excited this year. Like, it's like, buying a new car, you want to drive it every single day and, ride the wheels off on that thing. So I think the guys have a lot of new energy, and I believe that their expectations are probably very high. Like, I don't think there's any chance in that locker room they're not expecting to win it all. But to say that that's realistic, probably an understatement. I think,
10, 11 wins is probably realistic. I mean, it's just what we do, regardless of we either win the Big 12 or not. We still get double digits every year, it feels like. So, I mean, that's a thing, because based off, we have better players than basically everybody in the Big 12 except for Texas, but they suck. So,
but you know where that goes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, one of our
so,
buddies,
any thoughts?
so we always give him crap all the time. So He's a huge Texas fan.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh.
Any thoughts, you guys, about we don't know if it's going to be 23, 24, or 25, but any thoughts about the SEC and what a grinder that's going to be for this
Can't
Oklahoma
wait.
program?
I can't wait.
It's jacked.
You know, just to be able to drive down to Norman and maybe go watch an Alabama game, just for the pure entertainment aspect. You know, I know it's a business decision. Probably not the easiest way to make it to the college football playoffs until they expand it, but you know, I think it's really good, especially for our softball team. I don't think anybody really talks about that, but it's really good for our softball team. And then from a football standpoint, I'm curious to see how the divisions end up shaping out, where we're going to end up. But you know, I've got Bedlam marked down on my calendar as a must go see game. It might be the last time you get to see him in Stillwater. I'm sorry, in Norman, right?
Yep.
So,
Right.
We'll see how it unfolds, but very excited. You know, help with recruiting, and being able to shut some of the guys up that just think that we're just an offensive. That may not be the mentality as of recent, but that thinks the Big 12 is just a air raid, run and gun, score a bunch of points, no defense league, and be able to go over there and show some of those guys that we can play with them and shut them up per se. So
I think that we're going to be able to just get a couple more, probably a few better players by being able to be in the SEC. I think it's still going to be hard for us to compete. I still think we're always going to get good people, but I think we're going to actually have probably a chance to get more just based off of that, which will help us. And I think we've always been like one or two players away the years we went to the playoffs, or an entire defense. But like even then, it's like if you beat Georgia, you probably have a good chance of beating Alabama. Maybe, I don't know. They probably run all over you too, but it's a two different game. But
just from taking the beatings that we've taken from the SEC the last few years, it'd be nice to get in there. You know, the guys up front. You know, I think Smitty's going to make them stronger. We'll recruit a little better there because that's where seems like all the defensive linemen are these days.
mm-hmm.
But just being able to go in there and get some payback, that's all I feel. We owe some people some whoopings over there. So,
hey, I'm curious. Obviously, Hoove and I and Ryan, our third guy, we're at practice all the time. We're talking to the team and stuff all the time regularly. So we kind of always are hearing and seeing these guys regularly. I'm just curious for you guys, what are one or two players, I guess, that you're really excited to see this year, whether it's offense or defense? Just, I feel like this player X is going to be awesome this year, whether somebody makes a big jump or, just the quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, seeing what he's about. Somebody on defense, obviously Billy Bowman's got everybody excited. Is there one or two dudes that you guys are really watching for? Like, that guy's going to be awesome to watch this season.
I hope Danny Stunsman is the man.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that
he's fun. He's awesome.
And like I'm defensive minded, like, but he is crazy. Like, he's the guy you want, Mike. Like, that's who I want. That's who I'm jacked about seeing. And then I'm excited about Marvin Mims on offense to kind of let him really loose. So hopefully they give him the ball.
100%.
To me, one of the players that I don't think that, and there may be some buzz, you guys know more than we do, but to see Marcus Major get out there and he seems like he's had some really good runs at times, and I think it can be a breakout year. I know he's got a couple people in front of him, a couple freshmen too that seem pretty salty, but hopefully he gets some opportunities. I think he's got a chance to do really well, like he showed that in the bowl game, and so he's one. I was really excited about TD Roof, to be honest. I watched some stuff on him, and it was terrible to see that. Have you guys gotten an update? Like, is he out for the season?
Probably.
Yeah, he's done for the season.
Probably. Likely, I think it's surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was one.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah. He was one that seemed like, he brought some stuff with him, seeing him in the spring game. And, I think our core linebackers as freshmen coming in. We got 3 or 4 really good ones come in, and hopefully they get some opportunities. We'll see how they do. And then so I'll ask you guys, I know we've got 5-star quarterback coming in next year. How is Nick Evers doing? Is he improving? In the spring game, it seemed like he struggled a little bit and just trying to get comfortable, right? But he had just been in there for a few months. So has he seemed like he's been catching up?
Yeah. There's no doubt he's getting better. He's getting college coaching now, and he's around college receivers, so he's getting better, but he's behind. They went out in the summer and recruited 2 guys over him. They recruited a JUCO guy, General Booty, and a transfer portal guy from Pitt, Davis Bevel. So, those are 2 guys that have played one level or another college football. And I think Nick made it clear when he signed. He's like, I don't have to come in right away and be the starter or be the backup. I want to come in and learn as much as I can. So sounds like he's taking the patient approach, but with a 5-star coming in right behind him and Jackson Arnold, he's going to have to pick it up. And here's the X factor, the wild card is we don't know how long Dylan Gabriel's going to be here. I wrote a story earlier this week. Is it going to be 1 year? Is it going to be 2 years? Is it going to be 3 years? So all that stuff, it's coaches, man. That's why you pay them the big bucks now, because they got to figure all that stuff out and put all the pieces together and figure out that formula.
They got to do it. I mean, it's like,
I think it's ridiculous how open free agency is for college football. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, it's worse than free agency. It's at least the free agency you have rules and contracts. This is just
the
quarterback.
See y'all.
Jarrett Dagey transferred twice this offseason.
See, that should be
twice. It's like
that should be against the rules. Like, don't you put yourself at a disadvantage when you go to 2 different programs throughout an off season? It's like you start learning one thing, and it's like
and
unless you have to leave and go somewhere else just because you want to play, you don't want to work hard and earn it. Someone's better than you, so you just quit. Like, what's that say about your character?
Right.
So,
I don't understand the mentality of that either.
Well, plus
I would have stayed.
Yeah, I don't either.
Because at some point you're going to play or you don't.
You're putting the coaching staff. I'm sure the NCAA doesn't care about this, but you're putting the coaching staff in a bind because they say, we're going to recruit you out of the portal, bring you in, train you, give you their resources, get you ready to play, and then you leave and go somewhere else. What are they going to do now? They're behind a quarterback. They're missing. So no, I don't. It's they got to do some deadlines, put some deadlines on this transfer stuff.
They'll have to do something. Like, they should just go back to making guys sit out for a season.
That would make people not want to transfer.
I don't know.
Might put the brakes on it.
I know there's a lot of. I've heard so many different opinions on that stuff, but Nick Saban getting after it about that was pretty entertaining, but. He acts like they don't have the money to throw at these guys like A&M, but I think he's
put enough people in the NFL for them to sponsor the entire NIL program. So they have the money.
No first rounder.
Yeah. They're in the NFL.
Yeah.
So how's that recruiting pitch? Come here, you'll go to the NFL and win a national championship.
Make $100 million.
At least one out of your 4 years, right? He's gotten.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Yep.
That's crazy.
No doubt.
Every class that he signed has a national championship or something like that.
He's got to be pretty close, if not all of them.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. But
like, that machine's not going to keep getting fed.
And luckily, with us, and with us too, us being a really history-rich program, we're able to still sell some guys to come here. So, what if, Spencer Rattler would have left and we didn't have Caleb Williams, and then Lincoln leaves, and, with his recruiting process, you're getting a 5-star every 2 years. You're getting walk-on quarterbacks out of your backups. Mordecai leaves to SMU and tearing it up down there. And
that's all part of his recruiting scheme. I'm going to go get walk-ons for backups, and I'll come get you.
Exactly. You just up a creek without a paddle at that point.
He's very good at marketing. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
So
Lincoln's very good at selling and recruiting.
Yeah. He's
He's
got
very
his
good at it.
gifts for sure. Well, guys, Trade Pros has been unbelievable. You guys are advertising now in the Sports Animal. You've got a new office right down the street from me here in Broken Arrow. Tell us what's going on with Trade Pros. Tell us what's going on with the business and what kind of specials you guys got. This is your open mic, man. I want you to talk about the greatness of Trade Pros and how much you guys have grown recently.
So it's been crazy. We've been growing like crazy, trying to work our tails off and get to number one in the heating and air conditioning industry. We're trying to find some different avenues of doing that, some outside the box stuff. I don't know if you'll find another heat and air company. Maybe Jason White hops on someone's podcast every now and then, but yeah, we opened up in Tulsa in June. We've got a team up there. They're doing a phenomenal job. For those of you that are listening up there in Tulsa, go to tradeprosokc.com. You'll be able to click on the Tulsa link and contact the office up there if you need anything. We're doing a new maintenance program. Nobody's done it before. It's a subscription-based program. It's $25 a month. You'll still get, the goal is to provide biannual maintenance and keep repair costs down. So if you have a system that's 20 years old, and everyone has that worry, right? When the summertime comes along, you're like, man, I know I'm going to have to replace my heating and air conditioning system, but I just can't afford it. Well, this program is designed for you because you pay $25 a month. We maintenance it twice a year. You keep your energy bills down. Any repairs that are needed throughout that year, if it's under $500, we cover it at no charge to the consumer. Anything over that, the client just pays 25% of the normal repair fee. So if it's something crazy like a blower motor or an expensive repair, that's like $1,000 for easy math, right? Because I'm not that good at math. If it was $1,000 repair, the homeowner would just pay $250 and they're on their way. And so it's like an insurance, a security, whatever you want to call it. It's just designed to, especially in this environment, equipment costs are going up another 8% in January due to some new government mandates. And so hopefully we can boost this thing. And then for those of you that are looking for replacing your system, like we've got some great financing options. Payments as low as $55, $65 a month. And so you don't have the money out of pocket. You don't need the best credit in the world to qualify for it. You don't have to put any money down. Your compressor goes out and someone wants to come charge you $15,000. Well, we'll come out there and take care of you, no problem. Our goal is just to help people, and we do that through heating and air conditioning. So, we're trying to take over, but do it the right way. And so, that means just helping people, sincere, honest, and we're proving our model to be true 1 year at a time.
Well, you guys are doing some great work.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I just want to say you guys are doing some great work, and we're proud to be partnered with you. So, as always, fellas, we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. We certainly appreciate the opportunity. Let's do it again.
Yes.
You bet.
Absolutely. Just ready to get the season started, that's for sure. So everybody listening, definitely go check these guys out. Pros at Trade Pros, tradeprosokc.com. Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate Carrie and Caleb hopping on with us, of course. You can catch next week's show. Hoover and Ryan will be back with me previewing the season opener. It's finally time. Season gets kicked off next weekend. You can check that show out. All the episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Google, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcast. If you have an Amazon-enabled device, just say, Alexa, play the AllSooners podcast. Also post on our website, allsooners.com. Click on the playlist on your phone, your tablet, or your computer. You can watch the YouTube version on Hoover's YouTube page, John Hoover Media. So for Ryan Chapman, just signed off earlier, the Bros at Trade Pros, John Hoover, and myself, I'm Josh Callaway, signing off. We'll catch you guys next time.